Welcome back to The Loop, your weekly dose of all things property management. I'm your host, Colin Stewart, and each week we're going to dive into the latest trends, strategies, and stories shaping the property management world. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, we're here to provide insights, expert interviews, and practical tips to help you navigate the ever-evolving landscape of property management. Welcome back to The Loop, your weekly dose of all things property management. I'm your host, Colin Stewart, and each week we dive into the latest trends, strategies, and stories shaping the property management world. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, we're here to provide insights, expert interviews, and practical tips to help you navigate the ever-evolving landscape of property management. In today's episode, we sit down with Kelly Clark, the founder at Rockstar Real Estate, to talk about building a property management business from the ground up, why investing has always been her first love, and how she balances being an investor, property manager, and real estate agent, and all the difficult decisions and challenges that have reshaped her and her business and her outlook on life. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Delightful to be here.
I'm excited to have this one. I want to start at the beginning because I want to talk about the journey, but talk to me about how did you get your first start in real estate and what got you into it in the first place?
Well, I met some people who were investors, and I was looking to re-enter the workforce after having stayed home with my 3 kids to homeschool them. I met some investors. It sounded fascinating, and I thought, my gosh, this is what I want to do. I want to get into real estate. And so I actually ended up finding an investor to work for. He had a portfolio of 30 units, and I started managing those for him. Additionally, he was a mentor to other local investors in our community. And so instead of just doing the work that needs to be done, I was frequently asking, well, why? Well, how? Well, what about this? Because I was so hungry to learn. And although people were paying him to be mentored by him, he was paying me to do work, but I also got essentially all that mentoring for free. So I call it mentor hacking when you get a mentor to pay you. So that's how I got started with mentor hacking.
And how did you find the mentor in the first place?
I just let people know that I was looking to get into investing, and through connections, someone knew he was looking for help, and they also knew I was wanting to help an investor, so got connected that way.
Right on. And when you first got started, I think you said there were 30 units?
Yeah, I started managing 30 units, his 30 units, no one else's units. I didn't have my own company at that point or anything.
At what point did you realize, I really love doing this?
Well, the property management, don't tell them, but they're not my favorite child of the 3 things that I do. My favorite is actually my own investing, but I do love helping people in any way that I can. And so I have found in my area of Spokane, Washington, that a lot of people need property management help, or, need them to manage their properties for them. And being an investor myself, I can say to the owners that I work with, I'm going through the same thing with my rental, or just last week I had to do that in one of my rentals. So I think they appreciate that I'm not just on one side of the table, so to speak, but, things that are impacting our industry here in Spokane, I'm feeling it the same with my rentals. So I like the fact that even as an agent, no matter what a person needs with regards to their property, I can probably help. I can manage it for them. I can help them buy more. I can help them sell. I understand all those things because I do all those things myself. So I think my experience and then how I can meet most of their real estate needs, they seem to appreciate that whole package.
Huge benefits to being both sides of the table in this circumstance. I do a similar thing with another project I'm working on. I do consulting for founders on how to grow. And I am a founder of a startup at the same time. And so there's just something different about the relationship when the two of you are peers and you happen to be doing something for them, as opposed to this is a service. I think there's just a different level of understanding, empathy, and respect to the relationships.
Yeah, I totally agree. And people seem to understand that.
And I think one thing I think they probably also get from you is that your genuine excitement in helping them become investors. Talk to me about that journey and what is it that that is just so enjoyable for you?
Yeah. So when I decided that I wanted to get into investing in 2019, I figured out pretty quickly that my network was my net worth. And I knew that I wanted to grow exponentially and not just eventually as an investor.
Mhm.
And so in 2019, I started a meetup for real estate investors, and we meet once a month. I have never missed a meeting since 2019. Obviously, COVID made things weird here in Washington, but so yeah, because I thought, well, I want to learn on certain topics. I want to learn from the experts in my area. And I didn't think I could call them up and, squeak out, hey, this is Kelly Clark. I want to be an investor. I want to know about X. Can I buy you a cup of coffee or beer or whatever? But I thought if I called them and said, hey, I reserved this room, I'm going to invite people. Will you come do a presentation about this topic? And so I started that meeting selfishly because I wanted to learn from people. I wanted to know about certain topics. And even at my meetup today, I'll stand up in front and say, this started as selfishness and it continues today because I want to learn from our speaker today. I want to know about this topic. I'm glad you're interested in learning about this topic from this expert. And so because I want to continue to learn and grow, that's why I keep the meetup going. And it turns out other people appreciate becoming more and more knowledgeable from boots on the ground people in our area.
I love the bringing people together around a common goal of learning from each other and learning from an expert. It sounds like one of those things that you've tried and it has the dual benefit of it. One, it helps you connect with other folks, but it also helps you learn. It's definitely not something you ever model out of like, hey, we get started and then we're gonna chop all of this business. But I think it's an honorable thing to do to make sure that you're living to your values. I did a similar thing recently and chopped a similar amount of revenue, and I've never been happier. It was a part of the business that I really didn't like for a long time, and I didn't have the guts that you did to do it right away. It took me too long to like I knew I hated it and I kept doing it because I just thought, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. But it's amazing that you had the courage to stand up and do that so early in the journey. I'm curious how it's been since then. Have you back recovered? Are you happy with the decision? Yeah, how are you feeling about that?
But yeah, best business decision I ever made. And now when I bring on owners and I recognize fits a lot more quickly now and I release them a lot more quickly. And we've had to release a few and I don't, I figure if in the first 10 months I can let go of 75% of my business and rebuild a short time later and beyond, then I can kind of get through anything. And so it's maybe not fearful to do things because it just becomes so worth it that this I don't know, it doesn't scare me, I guess
Yeah.
now. And I
You
guess it
seem
didn't even scare me then.
you seem invincible almost. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs that are afraid to say no to a deal, or they'll take any client they have to. They can because they feel like they have to. But that that first moment where you recognize that, oh, I don't have to take on clients that are not a good fit or people that are going to make me unhappy, it's very freeing.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm not a fit for everybody. My company isn't a fit for everybody, and that's okay. I feel bad if I am retaining a client if there's a better fit for them somewhere else. That's not fair of me to be that selfish to think you only should work with me.
Hmm.
Just because I'm good at what I do doesn't mean I'm the best fit. I don't want to hold anybody's business back. So that's how and I hope they would see that same way. Maybe they don't, but I like it when people are free to find better fits.
Something that you've learned along the way now that you're not just kind of reacting fire to fire. And how does that come about?
Yeah, it's great because I don't have all these other distractions. So I feel like I can expand our business, make great improvements, be more proactive in business development, and implement things that I knew were a good idea, but I just didn't have the mental strength or the time to do them. So it's been great to improve my business internally and then, yeah, be proactive in business development.
You think about growth in terms of, wanting to serve more people.
Yeah, I mean, I I like quantity, but I'm more about quality. And so, just like when I had those 60 units that I released, the quantity was there, but I wasn't allowed to provide quality. So I'm much more interested in working, or serving good tenants and serving owners that want to provide great homes to good tenants.
It seems like with the mix of kind of investing, the real estate, and the property management side of things, you bring a unique angle to it. And so I imagine that it attracts a certain type of customer. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we don't manage any large complexes or anything like that. We mostly deal with small multifamily and single family home owners because that's what I am. And so I've kind of found my a niche in who I can best serve. And I like that. I don't mind that we don't manage 5,000 units at 5 properties across the city. I don't know that that would be a good fit for my passions, but
Yeah.
there's people in my community that are great at that. And that's what they love to do. And so, I like it when those types of owners work with those types of people who specialize in serving those types of owners.
The Where do you hope to grow most over the next few years? Is there a particular side of the business or a particular thing that you want to work on?
I'd love to continue growing my portfolio. And I think by working with more buyers and sellers and owners, landlords, then I'll be able, like those focusing on sales and property management will then, a natural result will be being able to grow my own portfolio. So I want to, I'm most connected with investors through my meetup. So I'd like to continue being well connected to investors so that I can serve their buying, selling, and rental needs. We have 5 meetup investors in our greater North Idaho, Spokane area, and mine has grown to be the largest, although it the second oldest group in our area. Mine has the most number of attendees month after month. So I think the consistency, is great. People see me up there every month for 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a journey. For folks that aren't maybe familiar with this, like Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho kind of area, what makes Spokane, Northern Idaho special?
Well, it's not a big city area. It's more forest, trails, lakes, rivers, larger properties, 5 to 100 acres. We do have some towns within there. I think the population of Spokane City is, I don't know, 300,000, but then it gets very tiny as soon as you go outside city borders. So I think people come here for the great outdoors. And yeah, and we have a military base. We have 4 hospitals. So I think we're the largest group of hospitals between Minnesota and Seattle. So, we have a lot of healthcare related. And we have a few universities in our area. So yeah, it's an educated population who loves the outdoors, I guess.
Of that. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and being so open with us and sharing the journey. If people want to learn more about you, about Rockstar, what's the best, or your meetup group, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
I put up a website to highlight all of the real estate investor events in our area. The website is reinetworking.com. So real estate investor networking.com, and Kelly at reinetworking.com. If anybody ever has any single events, conferences, ongoing monthly meetups in North Idaho, Spokane area, we now have Boise events listed there. I love to help provide information. I'm just one meetup. We have so many in our area that investors can really connect and find, education and networking that's best suited for their schedule, for their budget, all those things.
I love it. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
it's
it.
been delightful. It's such a pleasure to talk with you, Colin.
And great to get your story on the show.
Yeah.
And thanks to everybody for listening. We'll catch y'all next time.